Yep, we're rolling for a retake of a sample review that I did. I don't know how I deleted it. It was a bit of a strange one. Um, Obviously, all I can think of is when you go onto YouTube and you upload a video, it comes up like processing to upload. And for whatever reason, this is a video I've done several months ago for a load of samples, which I'm going to redo now. The video just disappeared, and long story short, I tried to go through different options settings to retrieve it, but was unsuccessful. So here we are with a re-review of various samples. I've got 6 here, I believe, and they're in order. So yeah, and luckily I've got just enough to redo the review, because again, it's not like I have lots of subscribers or lots of people following me, but again, when I do make a video, I try to be informative and obviously to help people. And one thing I can say with the sample reviews, I don't just do the sample right now and then I give this like arbitrary number review or rating, I should say. Obviously all of these I've either had bottles of, I own clones of, or I've smelt the original, let alone the sample 2 to 3 times at least. Obviously with these it's very low on some of them, unfortunately, but just enough that obviously from memory, as well as the fact of just the, you know, the rekindling of the smell again on the skin, you get the top notes come through and a bit of the middle. So there we go. Just noticing, I'll turn that lamp off. I think I look very obviously it was Mother's Day this weekend, so I had a few drinks, and it's obviously affected my sleep as a rest day from the gym. I had a lay-in, not that that's helped, but anyway, move on with the review. So one plus point, I ordered a load more tester strips from Amazon, made in China, and they're very thin, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. One thing I can say is that when you go into a department store or anywhere that sells fragrances, obviously you can use these strips that they provide, but sometimes you need to actually spray it on your own skin to get a more accurate review of how it actually does on the skin. Because again, as I mentioned in the past, and breathe, these fragrances, you know, they do smell different on these tester strips than they do on your own skin, and the same as on clothes slightly. So again, just putting that out there to kind of reiterate how important it is that if you do like a fragrance, be it in the air or on someone else, it can smell completely different on the skin. So anyway, so the first one, if I can read it again, they're these little samples. They're all pretty uniform from samples.co.uk, albeit I also have 2 clone ones from Jubilee inspired scents. So first one, I also luckily have the ratings that I put before. They may change, they may not. Again, I tend to you know, keep to the format of marking them out of 10. And again, these fragrances I have smelt before, as I mentioned, or I own bottles of, or the original or the clone. So this is the original Jean-Paul Gaultier Labo Le Parfum. I have uploaded a video where I have a clone of this by Jubilee inspired scent. So this is the original. Not a lot left, unfortunately. But there you go. It's actually it's better smelling it from this than from the strip. So yeah, straight away you get like that kind of tropical pineapple, coconut kind of vibe. Obviously, as I say, I have mentioned I've done a review of this more recently, but the only thing, or the difference between the original and the clone and generally speaking, with a lot of clones, is the original has or has more push and more radiance. In terms of the actual breakdown, it's very sweet, but not overly sweet. More summertimey vibe with this one. I believe there's an EDT version that's slightly more tropical, but and more radiating at the start. But Le Parfum slightly, I believe that it dries down slightly different, more darker, more woodier. So again, I gave this an 8 out of 10. Nothing's changed. It's just the fact that obviously that you know, there's very little left, but it's still very nice all the same. So yeah, 8 out of 10 with that one. Put that away. Move on to the next one, which is the Dolce & Gabbana Original or Pour Homme. Haven't got any of that left yet, luckily we do. So don't lose the cap. Yeah, so this brings back memories. I probably did mention this in a previous video. I smelt this many years ago. This is the original. As I say, it's harder to get hold of, although it's still doable. I actually have like a flanker version of this behind me, Dolce & Gabbana Intenso, which is a kind of a more flowery, floral, I don't want to say unisex, but leans slightly towards feminine, but it's very nice, where this original is a lot more masculine, in my opinion, better. It's stronger overall. Brings back memories of when I think I nicked a bottle off my dad because I really liked it. And obviously when I was younger, it wasn't just that I liked the traditional young man at the time, Calvin Klein, Hugo Boss fragrances. Sometimes I appreciate this, again, more classic gentleman's style. So it's like a bit soapy, like out the shower vibe. Some might say like barbershoppy, but it's classy, it's strong. Classic gentleman fragrance. So I gave that a 7 out of 10. Pretty solid. Nothing's really changed here. Obviously there are more up-to-date versions of this Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme, but this is a classic and a 7 out of 10, still good. It's an EDT as well, so for an EDT I remember it performing very well, and the radiance being good. So yeah, you know, nothing more I can say with that one. That's very nice. Nothing special though, hence why it doesn't get the 8 or the 9, and obviously being an EDT and kind of expensive for what it is now. They have several flanker versions, some cheaper, some not so, but nothing more I can really say with that one. The next one, Jean-Paul Gaultier Ultramale. Again, I have a clone of this by Lattafa, or by Rams by Lattafa. Which is a very good clone. I believe there's also, is it Afnan 9 PM? That's meant to be very popular version of this. But in terms of Lattafa, I've been having lots of Lattafa recently. They've all been pretty solid. I've actually got another one that I'm going to review shortly, which is another clone. That's a clone of Valentino, Born in Roma, Coral Fantasy, I believe, the pink one. But without jumping the gun, we'll go on to the what we're doing now. Jean-Paul Gaultier Ultramale. Again, there's not a lot left. It looks like I'm spraying a lot, but it's hard to get the last bit out. Very nice. Again, I like Jean-Paul Gaultier. I gave this a 7 out of 10 before. So it's like a bubblegummy kind of blue raspberry opening. If I was to describe it again, and as a lot of people do, it's kind of like a clubbing going out fragrance. I wouldn't just say it's summertime though. I get that imagery smelling this. Fresh and clean. Again, I think it would have mass appeal, and I don't like to just use these cliche terms, but it's true how I would describe it, how I smell it. Easily worn. Unlike say Le Parfum, Labo, I think this is more wearable, albeit even though they've got sweet notes, they're kind of polar opposites in the fact of, like, Labo is, you get the kind of the tropical vibes, lots of citrus heavy top notes, where with this one It doesn't dry down very different, but there is a kind of dark element in there, hence why I would mention, or as other people have, it's like a kind of a clubbing going out fragrance. So yeah, I gave that a 7 out of 10 as well. Again, there are like the Jean Paul Gaultier original, I think I've given that like an 8. That was one of the first videos I did. And the more modern Le Parfum, the dark one, which is my personal favourite, I gave that like a 9 out of 10. A 7 out of 10 is still good. It's just that there are better fragrances out there. I'm sure that there will be multiple people who agree. Not going to just overrate things just because I like them and just because I have good memories of them. If anything, Ultramale many years ago, just a little history with Liam, Grandpa Simpson. I always had Jean Paul Gaultier's growing up. Pretty much it was like a unanimous birthday present, if not an Armani one. But whenever I saw Ultramale, I just thought, because again, the bottle was just slightly more blue than the green version. I always, and as an EDT, I always just thought, oh, it's just a repackaged Jean Paul Gaultier. It wasn't really advertised that well, from what I can remember, marketing, billboards, whatever, adverts on TV. Excuse me, as a different version. So I never experienced it back in the day, but I think being in my early 20s when this came out, I would have probably had fonder memories, and maybe even nostalgia would have pushed my rating up to maybe an 8. But it's popular and it's very nice. So yep, 7 out of 10 for Jean Paul Gaultier Ultramale. Knocking these out quite quick. So the next one is Jubilee inspired Aventus Absolute. So I do have Creed Aventus. That was another review. I gave that a 6 out of 10 before. There's none of that left, so unfortunately I can't do that. But I know the smell profile of this. There's multiple clones out there. I have 2 behind me of this. This is the original. It costs a bit more money than some of the other samples because the fact that Creed is expensive. And in all honesty, all of the clones I prefer than this original. Just to reiterate, this version of Creed, and lots of people mention it online, it's not as strong as and projecting, and the performance is awful on the latest batches. This I bought a few months ago, and obviously a bottle of this is like several £100 in the UK. It's very expensive. So, and unanimously lots of people review the latest version, I'm not talking about a version from yesteryear or many years ago, say that the same thing I've reiterated. So I'm not regurgitating information. This is just, I remember when I reviewed this last time, the performance was lacking, the radiance was lacking. Yes, it smells nice, but again, there's off the top of my head the ones I own, the Armaf Club de Nuit limited edition and the EDPs and so on. I believe there's an elixir version of that, and they're all very strong and they do exactly what this does. Some harsh at the beginning, some not. Again, I've put videos up for this. I think I've also done Explorer by Mont Blanc. That's not bad. Not a bad take on this. Slightly more radiant. Performance isn't great on that either, but it's more accurate, shall we say, to this one. So this is the Absolute Aventus, which is slightly different, slightly nuanced version, but this is a clone. So what did I give that before? I gave this a 7 out of 10. So let's see how different it actually is, because again, when you're used to certain fragrances and wearing them multiple times, it's not like you need to spray them every time to remember the notes. But again, with what I'm doing here, it's just to kind of remind myself on some of the opening notes. And again, I know not just from the review I've done before where I accidentally lost the video somehow, I also have obviously worn these as samples and so on previously, so I'm trying to give an overall rather than just yeah, 10 out of 10 blah blah blah, or regurgitating information that's already out there online, or trying not to at least. But again, you find common ground with a lot of these reviews. Again, there's always going to be common ground where if you've got like 100 people reviewing Creed Aventus, there'll be lots of people who on nostalgia just alone will go, oh, 10 out of 10 great, but they're reviewing in their mind an older version. And then you'll get people who just want to, I don't know, like the opposite of a hype train where they just want to hate on something. So again, I try not to be extreme. I try to be in the middle and balance. So Here's the, again, Jubilee inspired scents. I just thought I'd add that in there. It's a clone company based in the UK. Not a lot of this left, unfortunately. Yeah, so pineapple off the top. Again, it doesn't help that there's not a lot that I can get out of this. There we go. So yeah, it's like a nuanced version of Creed. Again, obviously this is a clone. Nothing special, but again, without going over like note breakdown and so on, I believe if you like Creed Aventus or Creed Aventus clones, this is just another take on it. It's slightly more nuanced. Obviously in terms of performance and projection, it's not the best, but it's not as bad as, where is it, the original, wherever I put that for it over there. There's nothing left in it anyway. So yeah, and then I remember this one. So now we're moving on to the Noir, and I believe that the Noir 29, and I think it's called Labo, the company. This is a clone though, and I managed to actually track it down online, because last time I just did it as a blind buy, and it blew my head off. It's super strong, so obviously I remember that for this time. Still got quite a bit of it left. Let's see, yeah, because again I only put a little bit of a spray on. So this is a Marmite in terms of you'll love it or you hate it. I remember it being really powerful and potent and just pushing out straight away, it just off of the tester strip or off of my skin, whatever way I did it. But it was almost too powerful for me. And again, I don't want to like contradict and say I just rate fragrances in terms of performance and radiance, but radiance especially, not just for you smelling it but other people, it kind of is important, because again, if you can't smell it and anyone else can, or sorry, rather can't, then it's almost pointless wearing it, because that's the point of the fragrance. You're meant to enjoy it, other people compliment it, or it adds to your aura or persona, you know, that sort of thing. So I'm kind of nervous going in here, because again, the Noir, oh, and also this is another Jubilee inspired scent. So this is to finish. I gave this a 7 out of 10 last time, and even though personally I didn't like some of the notes, I admire what it's doing. And as a clone, again, I've not smelt the original. I googled it. I think it's quite expensive, and it's a niche brand, Labo, the Noir 29, and it on a weird bottle, like a science kind of bottle. Anyway, on to the review. Really, oh, Jesus. I remember, this is making me laugh, or try not to laugh, smile, like a explosion of fragrance. And it's not like this is quite far away, and I can really smell this. This is just by far the strongest of all the samples I've done, and it was previously as well. If I was to describe this, it's kind of like, and again, remembering my notes from before, kind of winter, Christmassy vibes, holly in the ivy, in the marketplace, that kind of green, but ozonic strength, like spice, sweetness there. It's very potent. I did 2 sprays and it's ridiculously strong. So again, this being a clone, I don't know if the original's even stronger than this, but in terms of this being a clone and having not smelt the original, I really do like this. It's just the fact that it's so strong and so potent, it almost like blocks, like, you know, it stops me being able to smell, because it's so powerful that I think this is something genuinely you'd have to be really careful with how much you spray and how close you put the fragrance to your nose. If anything, I would spray this personally, and I've never mentioned this before, with any fragrance, further away from yourself. Definitely on clothes, if obviously lower down on your arms, fine, but I wouldn't put it anywhere near your neckline, or because it's just so overpowering that you can't smell anything else. So it's kind of lucky as well that I ended with this, because I think if I smoke this first, and even just having this on the table, it's very potent and radiant. So even though I haven't revised any of the other reviews, I am actually going to revise this one. If I can find a pen, which I can't. But anyway, I'll write that down in a minute. So I did give this a 7 out of 10. I would actually give this an 8, even though personally I wouldn't wear it. Just to go over it again. So let's see, focus. So and that's what it looks like. Jubilee inspired scents. So it's so powerful. It's almost like making me go silly. I don't know. It's one of the most powerfulest. I don't think that's the word. One of the strongest fragrances I've ever smelt. I can appreciate what it does. It paints that as, again, not going over old grand, the wintry vibes, holly and ivy, bit of spice, bit of sweetness, but not too much. It's very balanced. It's masculine. I wouldn't say it leans toward a feminine edge either way. It's just very potent, and it's just not to my taste, but I can appreciate what it's trying to do. And if it's anything like the original, which as far as I'm aware, when I googled it a while ago, was kind of expensive, I do recommend this clone, or at least sampling it. I think a lot of people, again, it's like Marmite, I think you will either love it or hate it. I definitely don't hate it, because I do appreciate the strength, the performance, the radiance that it gives off, the fact that it's very different to anything else I've ever smelt before. But in my opinion and personal taste, I wouldn't wear this. I just don't want to wear it, and it's not because it's overly strong. It's just the scent profile, and as, again, how I describe it, I'm obviously giving it positives. I'm not, as I say, not just doing extremes like, oh, it's got bergamot and I hate bergamot, and you know, like, again, some people like that. Unironically, there was a fragrance sample that I did more recently, a Reflection Man, oh sorry, not Reflection Man, Amouage Interlude Man, that I had ridiculous black pepper oregano note that I couldn't get past. It just smelt like I poured food on me, or, you know, eating certain kind of food. And breathe. Still getting over my chest infection, so, but I'm getting there. So yeah, nothing really more I can say. I'd actually give this a revised 8 out of 10. Previously I gave it a 7. So yeah, managed to redo the review from before that got deleted, unfortunately, or I lost it somehow. Obviously there are more reviews to put up. I have actually filmed 2 other sample reviews. I broke them down into parts because they're more in depth, and I've done a lot more reviews, or sorry, get my words out, more sample reviews within the review. So yeah, I would recommend trying this as a sample, but definitely don't just blind buy the original or even this and just hammer it on. I really reiterate that this is one of the strongest fragrances I've ever personally smelled, and it's the Noir 29 by Labo. I believe it's Labo. So yeah, again, nothing more I can say. Thank you for anybody tuning in or watching this. Any comments or likes, as I get some, so always appreciated. I even feel like I remember this from last time I said, it kind of gives you a headache if you're too close to this as well. And I can kind of, I'm aware that I feel kind of like different since smelling that. Again, it's very powerful, so I will respect the fact that you need to wear it further away from yourself, ideally on close, further away from where you're smelling, because all I'm smelling at the moment is this. It's a shame that there are some other fragrances that if they had this strength and projection for whatever reason, they'd be amazing, but unfortunately that's not always the case. And again, sometimes you do want something more subtle, not so much in your face, which this is ridiculously loud in terms of everything else, again, I've ever smelled. This is and I don't want to keep going over this, it's just the fact that it's there, and I'm finishing this review with that one. And ironically, that gets the highest mark out of them all. Minus Labo Le Parfum, that got an 8 out of 10. The others all got 7. So Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme, the original, Jean-Paul Gaultier Ultramale, Jubilee inspired Absolute Aventus, and obviously ending with the Le Labo Noir 29. So we end it there. Until next time.